Las Vegas. It attracts conventions and meetings of all kinds, including the International Lameness Prevention Conference. It's a gathering of farriers, veterinarians, educators, and researchers from all around the world, all dedicated to one mission: understanding, treating, and preventing equine lameness.
It stood about loading the bottom of horses' feet.
The conference is put on by the Equine Lameness Prevention Organization, a nonprofit corporation started by hoof care innovator Gene Ovanek, a farrier with an unusual understanding of the horse's body and mind.
One thing Gene Ovanek taught me on my first visit here was how to listen to the horse. And I think we're relying on the horse for a lot of answers.
One of the main goals of the E.L.P.O is to listen to the horse. Okay? And we have developed several tools to do that. To be able to ask the horse, is there comfort here or is there discomfort, is key in what guides us and how we approach the horse's foot.
For E.L.P.O, preventing lameness is the ideal. The day-to-day reality is treating existing lameness wherever it occurs.
The key thing about this information is it isn't just for the performance horse and the elite athletes at the high end. It's for all horses, like trail riding horses and backyard horses. It's really important that every horse is as comfortable and as sound in its working life as it can be.
We reverse engineer things as a thought process, and that's something in the educational process that the E.L.P.O have done, is they've worked out how to teach people safe, repeatable types of foot trimming, shoe placement, things we can use to help every single horse, irrespective of size, colour, the type of horse they are, whatever breed they are. It seems that we can just do the best thing possible for their feet. No other part of the industry shows anybody how to do that.
Keeping a performance horse sound is the biggest challenge of all, for a very simple reason.
You know, historically, horses moved, and we asked them to move much differently than they do today. Historically, they were transport for a lot of people. They were meant to go from point A to point B in a relatively straight line. Maybe they turned left at Bob's house, but that was about it. Now, a lot of these horses in competition, dressage, for example, you see them doing lots of small circles, reining, cutting, doing these moves that they weren't traditionally meant to do. And so we see a lot of injuries that are different than what we've historically had. A lot of collateral ligament damage, a lot of that damage from moving in ways that they didn't naturally evolve into.
The distal limb, the lower limb, the pastern joint, the coffin joint, even the fetlock joint, and most of the joints in the leg are what's called a ginglymus hinge joint, designed to go forwards and backwards. And there's actually some large attachments on either side of that that allow or help keep that joint from being subluxated or tearing on one side or the other. Doing circles, obviously, it's a repetitive motion injury. And then if the balance of the foot is out on top of that, if they're high on one side or low on the other side, or there's a diagonal imbalance, and we ask them to turn a circle, now you've compounded the amount of leverage or strain on the connective tissue around the joint.
Everything that we do in medicine, or in farrier science for that matter, is setting the horse up to heal themselves. We can't forcibly make that animal change, but we can set them up to alleviate the forces, to try to heal themselves and for that body to change if we direct them in the right direction. So in severely distorted feet or severely lame feet, that takes some time to modify that tissue as it grows and it changes. The beautiful part of the E.L.P.O is not only are these dedicated, passionate farriers, but they understand to be able to present this on a national, or in this case international level, there's got to be more behind it than just the anecdotal evidence that the horse liked it or the horse got better. So they understand that they have to set up studies that have a science type nature, and that's where we have came in terms of the hospital, is providing the technology support from an x-ray standpoint.
MRI is also used on both sides of the Atlantic. Technology is invaluable, especially when it's used in conjunction with the horse's feedback.
The horse can really tell you a lot, as well as the MRI itself. The MRI gives you a great black and white picture of the inside of the hoof. You certainly need to be a talented guy to be able to actually see what is right and what's wrong. You really need to be a fantastic anatomist to know what's correct and what's normal and abnormal. And when we use the E.L.P.O stuff as well as the leverage testing, compare that, you get a good picture of what there is visible, as well as what the horse is telling you is right or wrong, or helps, or more comfortable or less comfortable for itself.
I just did what the horse was saying to me, because this leverage system just lets him tell about, I'm hurting here a little bit, and maybe you want me to raise a little bit here.
For the members of the Equine Lameness Prevention Organization, caring for horses' feet is more than a job. It's a calling.
It's the opportunity to help people through horses. So, I mean, really, that's the honest truth. If a person's horse isn't right, if they're lame or they're having trouble, then the owner or the person that is in charge of caring for that horse is also not right. And so it gives us an opportunity to allow them some comfort as well as the opportunity to help horses.
With my work with Best Friends Animal Society, I'm their resident farrier. You know, I really see a lot of lameness cases. I don't get horses that are sound and healthy and ready to go. I get ones that are broken, and so I have a great opportunity to use these guidelines and these principles to help those horses that, for more intents and purposes, have been just completely discarded and given up on. And if I can find success helping these worst of the worst, you know, I use that in my private practice, showing horses outside of Best Friends as well.
People ask me, isn't it hard work for a woman? And I say, yeah, it is, but I like the work, and it's not like we can't do it, because especially being a woman, we have a good sense, we got a good feeling, and especially with working with horses, it's really important to work with your feeling and be in tune with the horse and listen to the horse.
I think I have pretty good patience with the horses, and I certainly build a good relationship with them, and they cooperate well. I'm probably willing to walk away from a horse if a horse is not going to behave to be shod. Then my pride doesn't hurt. I will walk away and maybe let someone else wrestle it. But using the hoof jack would probably be one of my best bits of advice for anyone new to the job, male or female, just to save themselves, and good back maintenance right from day one.
If you start to use the right tools, if you get your body stronger, if you use the right posture, if you know how to work around the horses, move, keep your body healthy, that you can all work on that. And I have a couple of female farriers that I work with a lot, and yeah, they're just like me. They're small. We don't need the strength because we work together with the horse, and we do things that the horse likes. So they really love us.
In the front, he didn't give me a clear indication of what he liked and what he didn't like. He's kind of a stoic horse. So when I see that they're sore, out with elevation in the back and elevation in the front and medial laterally, I like to put him in a clog for a shoeing or two. You know, to start shoeing a horse, when you've never had horses all your life, at the age that I was at 60 years old, I had to learn how to get under them. I had to learn how to stay alive, how to not to get cut, how to not to get kicked. I had to learn how to read them and to be careful and to be able to work on them and help them, and it was a long process, and I'm still learning. And every time I come to one of these functions, I find out how much I don't know, and I've enjoyed every minute of it.
At the International Lameness Prevention Conference in Las Vegas, one of the most highly anticipated parts of the program was the hoof mapping contest. Hoof mapping is done on the bottom of a horse's foot. The process uses external references to mark the locations of internal hoof structures. Trimming of the foot then follows the markings. Hoof mapping not only helps balance the horse's foot around the center of articulation, it helps the horse owner understand what's being done.
Having more of a procedure with a mapping protocol and trimming just makes it a lot easier to explain to clients exactly what you're doing. I don't think they fully appreciate sometimes the skill that is involved with trimming and what you're actually trying to do. With the hoof mapping, when I've drawn the lines on the feet and marked it out, shown them the shoe positioning, maybe held up some bones and showed what we're trying to achieve, it makes it very visual for them, and that little bit of knowledge makes them then go away and look at other horses' feet and maybe then see differences in what we're doing.
For a long period of time, we have done things mostly from an observation of the outside of the foot, and understanding the internal structures and the attachments and how to locate those things makes a huge difference in the function of the foot and how a horse can perform or do its job.
But what are these external references? First and foremost is the widest part of the foot.
Throughout history, if you research everything that's been written, most authors reference this sort of intersection area, the widest part of the foot, reference the centre of rotation of the coffin joint, which is the lowest joint in the horse's limb. And most authors seem to think that if you centralise the shoe or you centralise your trimming protocol around that area, then it should be the perfect thing for the horse. But of course, everyone talks about it, but nobody's given it any way of repetitively finding an accurate spot. And that's what the E.L.P.O set out to do. Despite their early criticism, they seem to have done a perfect job on being able to repeatedly find the widest part of the foot, find that centre of rotation of the coffin joint, and then we can use it as a measurement to do everything else from.
In severely distorted feet or severely lame horses, we've got to remember that hoof capsule, the soft tissue around the bony column, is very dynamic. And we can change that either purposefully or on accident to a great degree. Regardless of what happens to that soft tissue, that dynamic, mobile tissue that is around that bony column, the widest part of the foot, the waxy sole, and those landmarks we have proven now time and time again through a number of horses in the E.L.P.O mapping study that is a reliable landmark that we can come back to, that home base that we can come back to, and that allows us to look through the big old clump of clay and realize what the true sculpture is underneath that.
There are 3 reference points to identify the widest part of the foot. Number 1, the widest point of the sole. Number 2, about an inch back from the true apex of the frog. And number 3, where the bars terminate into the frog commissures. The straight line connecting these reference points is the widest part of the foot. Trimming the hoof to be balanced around its widest part is done for every horse, regardless of whether the horse will go barefoot, will wear metal shoes, or will be fitted with some sort of therapeutic appliance. The work of E.L.P.O is making a difference for horses and people all over the world. But traditions run deep, and change hasn't been easy.
At times, I started thinking, well, maybe I've got this wrong, maybe everybody else has got it right. We've made a lot of enemies with farriers who don't like what we're doing.
The older veterinary fraternity are very, very fixed in their ways of going about lameness examinations. You have to be careful not to sort of be too confrontational with it, and that, this is the way and this is the only way. I think it's a sort of subtle integration of the ideas, and if you've got good reasoning and behind it, it can be quite persuasive. And generally, horse owners are quite accepting and open to new ideas, anything that will give them that little edge of advantage. I'm very optimistic, but it's a gradual thing, and I think it's. I think if you work on the horse owners, then they'll demand it of their farriers and veterinarians.
This conference is great, and it's like no other that I go to in the world because it's so forward thinking and all the information is current and relevant, and nobody else is actually doing this in a conference. All the other conferences I attend, and I do attend quite a few over in the States as well as over in Europe as well, they're still holding on to too much tradition. Traditional stuff isn't bad, but if there's something that's more advanced and more information there and it's easier to understand and easier to apply, then it's got to be better for everybody, including the horse.
When I started 12 years ago, everything new, and especially if it came from out abroad, everything was bad. So I had a really hard time 12 years ago, but just a couple of years ago, everything changed in Holland and in Europe, and people are really opening up and searching for new things and better health for themselves and better health for their animals. And so it's really great, and everything that the E.L.P.O stands for is about that.
The most positive sign, however, comes from an unlikely source.
The industry is not all that keen on change. However, there's sympathetic ears throughout the industry. Most of the farriery training system and examination system is based on the Worshipful Company of Farriers system, and they're ready for change. They're realising that it has some credence, and what they like about it is the safety aspect, the fact you can teach it to people and it's repeatable and easy to learn.
We have grown leaps and bounds in our understanding of the foot, understanding of lesions and tears and repetitive motion injuries in the last 5 years. And so in 5 more years, who knows where we'll be.